Alright, so I really quickly want to show you how to access the simulator for the 310 Sunrise and Sunset Lab and how to find that lab report and how to set and use the simulator to answer the questions on the lab so that you can take the lab quiz and receive credit for this assignment. So go ahead and, this is the Earth Science page, go ahead and click on Content at the top. Okay, and then on the left hand side you're going to want to scroll down. Click on Unit 3, Astronomy. Scroll down even farther. Click on the 310 Sunrise and Sunset lesson. Alright, so up here at the top, this laboratory sunrise and sunset, this is where you'll find the simulator. 310 lab report is the lab report. It looks like this. You'll notice that it has some red on it, and those are answers that I have given you to cut down on the length of the assignment, and also so you can test it out yourself and see how I got my answers to make sure you're doing it correctly. Then the student guide walks you through using the simulator, and then the 310 lab quiz is 13 questions, multiple choice from your lab report. So for example, number 1 wants you to describe the length of day. So a question on the quiz might be, in the region north of 66.5 degrees latitude, the Arctic Circle, what is the length of day during summer, or something like that. Okay, so let me show you how to get to the simulator and how to use it. Okay, so the first 2 pages are some background information and reading, so go ahead and read through those 2 on your own. And so when you get to page 3, this blue link at the bottom that says simulator is going to be the simulator that you use for the lab. So let's go ahead and pull up the lab, and like I said, number 1 talks about the region north of 66.5 degrees latitude is the Arctic Circle. Use a simulator to describe the length of day during winter, spring, summer, and fall. So I already have winter up here for you. So let's go ahead and do spring. So let me show you how to move and use the simulator. So on the right hand side, this is our latitude. You can see down here, let me scroll down a little, is the globe. So 0 degrees, I'm at the equator, and then the higher the number, the higher up the globe, or higher towards the poles, or the higher number latitude you're at. So we want to go clear up to the Arctic Circle, so past 66.5 degrees. I'm just going to leave it there, right there at 60 or 71. And we've already done winter, so right here on the right hand side is the time of year. So we want to do, I think it said spring, so we're going to do spring. So I'm going to move this down here where it says March spring equinox. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And we're just looking for the amount of daylight that we have. So the sun rose about 5:30, 6:45, and it set about the same time. So we can count the number of hours in between, and it is 12. So for number 1, we can type something like, there were 12 hours of daylight. Something that simple. And you're going to do that for summer and fall. And to do that, you'll just leave, you'll leave your simulator where it was, and you'll just move this to summer and to fall and record the length of daylight on each one. Okay, number 2, I want you to fill out this chart. The first 4 are at 0 degrees latitude and looking at each time of year, and the second part is at 40 degrees latitude looking at each time of year. And it wants you to pay attention to the rise position and the set position, and it gives you your choices, and I'll show you how to do that. And then the maximum angle of the sun, and then the length of the day, so the hours of daylight. So let's go ahead and do the spring equinox at 0 degrees. So we'll go back to our simulator. We'll move our latitude down to 0 degrees. And we're going to do, was it spring? Yes, spring, sorry. So we're going to move this up to spring. Alright, so the very first thing it wants to know is the rise and set position. So here we have east, we have west, north, and south. So our sun, if we go ahead and hit play, it's going to follow this purple line all the way up and all the way down. So this is our sunrise and sunset. And you'll notice it is exactly east and exactly west, where at different times, so let's say June, we are north, here's north, we're north of east and north of west, where in the winter we move down to this blue line and we are south of east and south of west. So that's where those choices are coming from. Alright, so we will go ahead and write exactly east and exactly west, and then our maximum angle of the sun is going to be where our purple, blue, or red line, depending on what the path of the sun is following. Ours is purple, so we're right here right at 89 degrees or 90 degrees. So that's what we would put for that. If you end up in the summertime over here, you might be thinking, well, there aren't any numbers. It is going to be just like this side but flipped. And to help you, if you need to, remember that our red line is right here, and if you're not quite sure what angle that is, you can move your latitude and you can see that's about 66 degrees. That's how I got that number for that. Okay, so we have exactly east, exactly west for the spring, maximum angle of 89 or 90. So let's go ahead and look at the length of the day, or our hours of daylight. So 5:30 to 5:30, so it's going to be 12 hours again. So you would just come up here and you would do exactly east, exactly west, and we're going to say 89, oops, and we'll say 12. On your test or your quiz, you want to pick the number that's closest to yours. The choices are not close numbers. It's not going to be like 87 and 90. It's going to be 90 or 60. So you'll want to pick the one that's closest to your number. Let's do the summer one, but let's go ahead and let's move to 40 degrees and check out summer up there, just to do something a little bit different and to get some more practice. So let's go ahead and move this up to 40 degrees. And we're going to move this to summer. And so right now we can see our path of the sun is going to follow as this red line. So we're going to be north of east and north of west. And our maximum angle is going to be about 74 or 75. And let's go ahead and look at our length of day, or hours of daylight. So we rise about 4 a.m. and set about 6:30. So that's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about 14 and a half hours for that one. And you would go ahead and type your answers in here. So we were north of east and north of west. We are at about 74 degrees, and we were at, what did I say, 14 and a half hours of daylight, around there. So that's how you would do that one. So let's go ahead and look at number 3. Number 3, most students think that it looks confusing, but I promise once you get into it, it won't be too bad. So we have two different charts here. We have a winter solstice and a summer solstice. We have the hours of daylight on our left and our latitude at the bottom, kind of on the right. So what you're going to do is, what it wants you to do is compare the hours of daylight for different latitudes. So what is winter like at different latitudes? And what is summer like as far as hours of daylight at different latitudes? So I already have 0 and 15. So let's go ahead and do 30 during the winter solstice. So you're going to come back to your simulator, you're going to move your degrees to 30. You're going to move this to winter on the right here. And all we're doing is looking at the hours of daylight. So our sun rises and it sets about 5. So it rises probably about 6 and sets about 5. So that's about 10 hours. Maybe 9-ish in there. So I would go ahead and put an X at 10 or 9, either one. Like I said, the quiz isn't going to be numbers right next to each other. Okay, and then you would go to 45 degrees and see what happens in winter as well. So I'm just going to move this to 45. And I'm going to say, does my length of day change now that I am higher up north in the winter? So my sun rose about 7. And it set about 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're at about 9 again. So I'm going to go ahead and put an X at 9. And so on. And then for the summer, all you're going to do, here are your latitudes again, is you're just going to make sure you change your season to summer. So we'll do 45 degrees during the summer. So let's go back to our simulator. 45 degrees are already there, and let's just go ahead and move it to summer and see how long our day is. So about 3:30, 4 o'clock to about 7. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, about 15 hours of daylight. So I'd go to my lab report at 45 degrees north and I would put an X at 15. Okay, so next you would move your latitude up to 60 and record your hours of daylight. Then questions 4 and 5 are just based on your observations. How does latitude affect the hours of daylight during winter? How does it affect during summer? And then number 5 wants you to do the same thing, but for spring and fall. How many hours of sunlight do you have at these same latitudes during spring and fall? So that is how you work the simulator and how you manipulate it to answer each of the questions. If you need help at all or have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me or call me or text me or pop into my office hours. If my office hours don't work for you, I'm really flexible. Just contact me and we'll work something out. If you forget my contact information, I always put it in the course announcements. It's also in the content. But really easy to find in the course announcements, just right here at the bottom. Here's my email and my work number. So thank you so much. Hopefully this helps. And yeah, if you have any other further questions, please let me know.